All right, I finally have a podcast on Sunlighten saunas, heat and cold and red light. And we've got Vic, who I email all the time, different questions that works with Sunlighten saunas. And I'm happy to see him in person on video. And we are going to talk shop. So welcome to the podcast.
Thank you so much. I'm very excited to be here.
So tell me, first of all, you work with Sunlighten sauna. What do you do? Why are you working there?
Yeah, so I've been with Sunlighten for almost 5 years now. Um, and it just was a company that had an opening. I was not in a pinch, but I was kind of in a bind because I was in search of a job and I wanted to get into the marketing world. And I was an athlete. I swam in college and
Huh.
always knew quite a bit about health and wellness. So when I saw this role with partnerships, so I am the partnerships manager and I get to work with all the amazing experts that help us talk about infrared and the many benefits. So like yourself to Dr. Mark Hyman, Ben Greenfield, like these wonderful people in the space that are just helping educate others
Mhm.
about wellness. And that was kind of the biggest eye-opening thing when I started my role at Sunlighten is I thought I knew wellness pretty well, but I didn't understand the whole person aspect of it, where it's the mental side is just as important as everything else. And I mean, just the gut-brain connection, like so many layers to wellness, and especially as I'm getting older and aging, whatever I can do to make myself better and those around me better, I'm just obsessed with it. So to get a chance to speak with experts like yourself again, it's just so fun. And I appreciate all the emails that we've had back and forth because it's just been fun to watch you grow as an expert too. So yeah,
Yeah.
all good things.
It's very much an ongoing journey in this area because there is so much to always learn, and there's new research coming out all the time, and specifically today on heat and cold and red light. But for me, it's, as you get older, and I say this every show, I shift the focus on this podcast to how we can take ownership of our health today to be our best self in the future. So calling it the Future
Mhm.
You program, really looking at a holistic method approach to doing everything we can now, as sauna is recommended all the time. And I see more and more research on 4 times a week for 20 minutes. Now we'll dive into, I choose a sunlight sauna years ago, before you came on. I had a fitness studio in Bellevue, Washington before I moved to San Diego 5 years ago. And I added a sauna, sunlight sauna, into my studio to add additional services because I was trying to do more of a holistic approach and add all these different services before people really knew the benefits.
Mhm.
And I did my research, tried out different saunas. I chose Sunlighten because it has the near infrared, the mid infrared, and far infrared wavelengths and the different programs. So if you could just speak to the differences of saunas, and I will add one more thing. A lot of the research studies I hear out there might be confusing to people because they're based on Finnish saunas and at 170 degrees. So if we can kind
Yep.
of circle back to that later, because I think people think, oh, well, the sunlight is not hot enough. So
Yeah,
tell me a little bit about different types of saunas.
of course. So we make infrared saunas, as you said. There's different parts of the infrared spectrum. So thinking of the full spectrum of light, we are all familiar with the rainbow. We have red on one side and then indigo, blue, kind of a purple on the other side. Well, next to red on the spectrum, that's infrared. That's even where the name comes from. So red light and infrared are different. That's something that is very confusing for most people now because, oh, you got that red light sauna. No, it's infrared. I mean, just the name itself is kind of confusing. And then the fact that infrared is an invisible part of the spectrum just makes it a little harder to understand. It's what we can't see that's just even more mysterious. But as you stated, there are three parts of the spectrum of infrared. There's near, mid, and far. And each of those has different energy levels and then also different ways that it interacts with the body. So let's start with far infrared. It's the longest wavelength and it is absorbed furthest into the body. So absorption is different than penetration. It does not penetrate very far. It's pretty surface level. Um, but what's happening is it's interacting with your water molecules, which affects all sorts of stuff, different processes in the body. It just gets your flow going. So from there, there's mid-infrared, which is, of course, the middle wavelength, and it is absorbed just a little bit deeper, and helps with inflammation, muscle recovery, that kind of thing. And then you have near infrared. And as we said, that's next to red. Uh, it has the most energy and it is the shortest wavelength, but it penetrates pretty deeply. And so what's happening with infrared saunas compared to traditional saunas, we just talked about this spectrum of light. So half of the benefits come from light itself. The studies, as you mentioned, were with high heat saunas, and those are affecting you because the air around you is hot. It's that hot static air that is telling your body you need to cool yourself down because you're getting extremely hot. So the mechanism of action is that hormetic stressor, that stress, the hormesis, which is a good stress for the most part. That activation is kicking off and getting heat shock proteins activated. It's again activating those systems that in these environments, I mean, we're always in a comfortable environment for the most part. Maybe with your move to San Diego, you get a little bit hotter than normal on those hot sunny days. Um, but it's just a completely different way to get your body heat and light compared to just heat alone. And we'd like to talk about too the just the feeling of the sessions. So in a
Mhm.
hot sauna, yeah, you're probably only in there for 20 minutes at 170 plus degrees, and you're enduring that session. You are not enjoying it quite as much. So that's where with infrared, I think we're able to just help a wider range of people because it is so much more enjoyable. You can be in a parasympathetic state and get
Mhm.
the light benefits in addition to the heat benefits. So I'm happy to dive into all the
Mhm.
nuances. And it's infrared's not new, but it's new to so many people. So it takes time. And I've enjoyed listening to your podcast because you do a great job of breaking down the nanometers and all the science. But it's not really until you feel it and understand it that I think you're going to get the most benefits from it.
I'll just add when I was researching saunas originally, I think it was 2017 or something when I first got it, or 16, I don't know. I tried different saunas that are just the farm fed, and they're so hot. And I threw up two
Mm.
times. I tried it. I literally had to throw up in the garbage can
Oof.
in the room. And I was wondering why it was just so hot. It was so extreme that I need to obviously work up to that. But
Yeah.
it you mentioned being in the parasympathetic state and be able to relax, and it kind of makes sense as I dive more into vagal nerve and being in parasympathetic state to heal, recover, repair. I wonder if it's too much hotness, too much heat, that it's putting you in that fight or flight state. So you don't get as many benefits to be able to let your cells open up and do what the sauna does.
Yeah, that's very
Mm.
possible. And everyone's going to be different. I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something extremely important to talk about is we are all bio individuals. Are affected by things differently. Spinach might be extremely great for my digestion and terrible for yours.
Mm-hmm.
And same thing with this heat, with this light. So that is one thing that you have to try it for yourself and see what works for you. We can talk about routines and kind of prescriptions of what works best, but it's going to vary from person to
Mm-hmm.
person. But that parasympathetic side, I love that angle. I think it was Dr. Mindy Pels. She's talked about it really, really well.
Mm-hmm.
Because when you're in that fight or flight state, you're holding on to everything you can, including the bad things, the stress, the toxins. You're not able to let things go. So that's where finding this beautiful routine, this balance of the heat, the light, and making it a good part of what you're doing, that's when you can see some of those long-term benefits. And that's something else I'd like to harp on here is it's about consistency. Same thing with
Yeah.
those studies. They were showing reduction in all-cause mortality goes down, reduction in heart disease. And the more you're able to do it as part of your weekly routine, the better benefits you saw. So same thing with, I mean, honestly, even just red light therapy too, the saunas, the more you can do it, the better off you are. And that's where I think Sunlighten comes into play and is so helpful for so many people because we have different options of saunas, and it's having that option at home that you can make it. You wake up and do it. You don't have to wake up, drive to the gym, get in the sauna
Hmm.
there. And if that's where you're at, amazing. But that's where we want to educate people on the optimal way to do it and all the options that are out there.
Hmm. So, talking about the benefits of the near infrared wavelengths, the far and the mid and the far, but you mentioned, first of all, the heat shock proteins, and a big area of, as we focus on our future selves, is the brain and
Hmm.
cognitive health and the BDNF benefits. So, you know, where would you want to start on the benefits of sauna? And we could talk about the different programs, but why or how they help. And I always love, again, me going down, okay, exactly how does it work? Just don't tell me
Yeah.
that helps for detox, but how does it work?
Yeah. So with the brain, a couple of the main things that are going to be helpful there um, are the foundational benefits, detoxification and improved circulation and improved heart health. So if we're able to better deliver nutrients within the brain, get things moving better. I talked earlier about the water molecules being affected. That is something massive. Just that flow that happens when that energy is delivered within the body, everything starts moving differently. And that's when toxins can be released because everything is flowing. The nutrients are being delivered with that increased circulation to the areas that might be inflamed. And so with decreased inflammation, I mean, that's half the, I mean, I can't say half the problems that with brain diseases, but inflammation is a driver of pretty much all chronic disease. So if we can get to the source and figure out a way to naturally lower our inflammation, the benefits are just, I mean, it's unimaginable how much we can benefit from that because it's just endless. So with that said, the other part is, I mean, especially for mental health and just clarity, near infrared is one of the best ways to help support brain health, whether that's creating more connections within the brain, creating more mitochondria. That was something I haven't really mentioned yet, but that's something with near infrared. If we have more mitochondria, that means we have more energy production. And with everything happening, every system in the body uses energy to happen. So we need more mitochondria. And as we age, we don't have as much. So there's a lot of different layers to this. Um, but those were some of the key ones that I think of just right off the bat, for especially for your brain.
So going back, just to make sure I have this right, you're saying the sauna, the far infrared helps create more flow of the water. So the deep penetrating furthest is far infrared. That's adding increased flow of water, but that'd be our lymphatic system, right? You're saying
Yeah.
that to move things out. So it's really
Yep.
lymphatics. And if that is the same in the brain, that would be the lymphatic system. So being in the sauna in those sessions can help create lymph flow just by
Yeah.
sitting in there, not even doing lymphatic massage or anything.
Yeah, and that's where combining everything where you can too. So if you're aware of that, then get a session where you have this amazing lymphatic massage or have some of those tools that help with that drainage and just stack however you can. And um, it just adds to the benefits. But yeah, with the flow, it's also the circulation part. Like I said, it's the heart health. I mean, everybody has a heart and eventually it's going to stop. So we have to do everything we can to increase the circulation, to have the blood vessels that are nice and able to constrict and contract and expand, but not do
Mhm.
it where they're clogged or they've become stiff. That's where the problems can happen. And that's kind of where, jumping ahead a little bit, but with contrast therapy, you do get that constriction when you're cold. And so having
Mhm.
both the constriction and then the relaxation of your blood vessels, that's where the magic happens.
Mm. Okay, so before we go into that, because that's a whole deep topic,
Yeah.
a big interest for a lot of people, but the sauna just adding in, I'll say just a lymphatic drainage. I was just looking at videos yesterday. You're not like hammering your face, but just a soft touch is actually lymph massage that you could do before or during the session. We've
Hmm.
done a lot with Jody Cohen of Vibrant Blue Oils, but there's a lymph oil you can put on below your collarbones, below your jaw, and help that. But even foam roller, Normatec boots, I think all that stacking pre-sauna could help amplify the session. And
Yeah. Even something as simple as dry brushing. I mean,
yeah,
that's
I
fun.
forgot that. That's the main one.
Yeah. Yeah,
Dry brushing and the
exactly.
rebounder, we always say. Yeah.
Yeah, and just having that ready as your sauna's heating up. I mean, you can do it. Get in the sauna as you turn it on, because that's something that we've been learning too. Dr. Michael Hamblin, he's one of our scientific advisors, and he is just the absolute expert for all things infrared. He's got
Mhm.
all the studies, pretty much ever. If it relates to infrared, he's touched it. And he's talked about turn on your sauna and get in. I mean, it's like a
Oh.
light bulb. You turn that switch and the light is on. So get in. You're going to be getting the light benefits. Yes, you may not be sweating right away, but if you're just in a pinch, ready to get a session in, dry brush, get in your sauna, just make
Mhm.
it happen, and you'll see some benefits immediately.
Hmm. Yeah, so that's a good one. Now with muscle recovery, there's interesting the cardiovascular health benefits we talked about. Oh, I was going to say too, the lymphatic system doesn't have a heart to pump it. So doing, that movement we're talking about, the lymphatic flow to increase, even doing toe taps, calf raises. A good analogy someone said the other day was having your calf is your second heart. So you need to pump
Mm.
up to get your lymphatic system working for the sauna, but also you're saying the cardiovascular system helping the heart. But for people recovering from workouts, post exercise, anything on there, we can add in the benefits of sauna post workout. I know Stacey Sims even said, finish your workout and then do the sauna has some benefits.
Yeah. So one of the things is you've got that blood flow going. You've got that increase in core temperature. So you continue that. So thinking about your metabolism, everything continues more because you're in that slightly stressed state. You're training body to with, I mean, just to not panic too much. I mean, it's not like we're again getting into these super hot saunas after your workout. But it's that relaxation part that I think is very important, the reduction in inflammation, and then the blood flow. Like you are getting everything moving, um, and just delivering the oxygen to those areas that just worked incredibly hard, whatever it was that you were doing. It's with that focus, I think, too. If you got done with your workout and you can get in your sauna and maybe do some light stretching, that's always beneficial. We have a study that was done at by Sunlighten that showed an increased in flexibility through sauna use. So we know that in the sauna you are a little bit more flexible. So I'm not saying do anything crazy stretching wise, but you're just a little more limber, you're a little more relaxed, and that's just the perfect way to kind of wind down from some of those hard sessions and then just continue on those benefits.
I remember years ago when Bikram yoga started, and I was a fitness assistant fitness director at this club, the Bellevue Club, and Bikram yoga, the teachers actually would get injured because it was so hot. Remember, they had to have
Mm.
100, they had a set temperature. Bikram yoga is so many poses, standing and then lying down. But people always got injured because they were overstretching and pulling
Hmm.
something because of that heat. So, yes, gentle stretching, not
Yeah.
excessive in the sauna. So, talking about detoxification and diving into kind of rabbit hole episodes that I find interesting. I don't know if anyone's listening to, understanding the curiosity as I do of all the environmental toxins, mold toxicity, all the stuff in our environment that we're getting in, and we don't know that we might not realize that we have this toxic overload and over work in our liver and our detox pathways and the drainage pathways. I've done a ton of geek out, understand it all. If people want to learn more, listen to like 5 episodes on it. But how does the sauna help in part of the detoxification from all these toxins?
Yeah. So, of course, sweating is great for detoxification. We'll jump to that in a second. But back to the systems. Like, if we are able to, again, back with mitochondria, if we are able to have more energy, reduce inflammation, that is going to support our natural detox pathways. Everything that you just mentioned from the liver, um, that is supported through just increased energy levels and through reduced inflammation. So, just on that side alone, we're supporting the systems. We're making ourselves stronger in all these different ways. But then the sweating aspect, like that is something that is incredibly important. We don't need to rely on just one detox pathway. Like imagine if it was only our liver that did everything, and we're not thinking about through just other excretion. Um, there's a study done called the bus study that was instrumental in proving that sweat is beyond just thermoregulation. We don't sweat just because our body is cooling off. And there are still physicians and doctors and experts that think that is the case.
Mm-hmm.
But this bus study was done and it showed that heavy metals were removed through sweat more so than through exercise or just even through your blood and urine. So that is what the bus study is: blood, urine, and sweat. So those are different ways that we're releasing these toxins. And I think it was mercury that was one of the more dramatic results. Is mercury is one of those things that can hide. So it's not going to show up in a blood panel, perhaps, but in this test that was done on these individuals, there were people that had no mercury in their blood, but they had it in their sweat. So it is knocking out some of these things that are just wreaking havoc on the population. I mean, as you said, the toxins that are in the environment, we can't escape them. It's in the air we breathe. We can eat as well as possible. We can avoid um, the harmful products that are out there as much as possible, but it's inevitable to have some toxicity, and everyone has a different factor or just um, a- ability to withstand these toxins. So if I am overloaded with these toxins, that's when chaos can happen. That's when the inflammation increases and problems arise, whether it's autoimmune disease, just more chronic illness in different ways. Like looking back, many times it's the toxins that are the problem, and that's where the foundational side. We've got to get to the bottom of it, support our
Mm-hmm.
pathways for detoxification, and then don't forget about the sweat. We've got to sweat to get some of that stuff out.
Mm-hmm. For sure. Now that reminds me of we're trying to figure out stacking. If you look at the supplements, if we can help take something in the beginning of a sauna and afterwards as a binder, have you guys had any studies done on how to enhance the detoxification process, releasing toxins from the body and then getting a binder so we make sure they're collected and someone's taking them out, escorting them out through sweat,
Yeah.
urine, poop?
Yeah, exactly. So that's a perfect tool is through your through what you're consuming, it's through these binders, these supplements, because they can be extremely powerful. And for some people, it's too much. So this is definitely something, consult with your physician, have testing done, see and have a game plan. Everybody's going to react differently, like we've talked about. And so having a binder in your system so that when you are in your sauna, I think it was Dave Asprey in one of our Instagram lives we did with him. He talked about always using some sort of a binder. Otherwise, he has brain fog while he's in the sauna because so much stuff is being removed and is just in the system. It needs help getting out, as you just said, just having that little hand holding of like, okay, we're getting you out of your system. You're moving. Let's go. And so there's a lot of different binders, whether it's the activated charcoal, bentonite clays, um, even chlorella. I mean, it's just something so simple and natural, but all of those are great tools, and the timing is extremely important. So that's something that's going to vary a little bit person to person. But that's where, with some help through a physician or just other natural experts, they can help guide you of, okay, do this 60 minutes before your sauna or do this
Mm-hmm.
just after you get out of the sauna. Because everything, all these binders work in different ways. So it's important to be very strategic with them.
Mm-hmm. Yes, I think that'd be good. experiment because it is very n equals one. And experiment, how do you feel if you take it 30 minutes before, or do you take it right when you get out, or, an hour before, and figure out what works best for you. But working with a practitioner would be good to have someone guide you in that process.
Yep, exactly.
So to enhance the session, you have right after I bought mine, the red light panels available in the sauna. What type of benefits have you found in research showing the red light combined with the sauna near, far,
Yes. So it's
mid?
all about just extra light. I mean,
Mm-hmm.
honestly, we need to think about light as part of our diet almost. One of my favorite analogies is we are solar panels, or we
Mm-hmm.
are designed as solar panels, right? So the episode talking about morning sunlight, that is so important and so easy to get. I mean, unless maybe, yes, if you were up in Washington, I could see some more problems
Yeah.
with getting that early morning light. But even when it's blocked by the clouds, you're still getting some of those healthy rays. So by combining red and near, they are so close to each other on the spectrum, but their benefits, when combined, just complement each other extremely well. So red is a little more surface level. It is more of the skin benefits, helping with fine lines, wrinkles through collagen production, elastin. Um, all of that side of things is awesome too, especially as we are aging. Um, but from there too, it's the inflammation reduction that happens. Um, More about the mitochondria. So we have different sauna models that have different wavelengths. We do have some saunas that only have far infrared. And those were used in some of our testing, and they are still extremely beneficial, but the more wavelengths you have, the different layers of benefits you're getting. Um, and something that's extremely important, and you talk about this a lot, is the quality of the light. And so that is something where Sunlighten has developed products with the highest emissivity on the market. And that means our body's ability to absorb that light. So it needs to be delivered in very specific ways with the right heating technology so that you can get those benefits. I mean, thinking about supplements, quality matters. Like you might be getting 1,000 milligrams of vitamin C and just flush it right back out. But there's different forms and ways to take in that vitamin C that you're actually absorbing it. And kind of the same thing with light. It might just reflect off, or it might not actually absorb and penetrate into your body and deliver that light energy. So with the combination, our impulse sauna is the one that you're talking about. It has the integrated red light and near infrared. And that is the one that has all the bells and whistles. You can even watch Netflix in there, choose the different programs that have different combinations of light. And I think that's what makes it special too, is the combinations. You don't want to, much like training, when you're running a marathon, you don't do the same thing every single day. You have to
Hopefully you
change it
don't.
up. Yeah. So think about that with your sauna sessions too.
Mhm.
Get in there early sometimes, stay in a little bit longer. Don't go quite as hot. Have these different wavelengths going on throughout
Mm.
so that it kind of keeps your body guessing.
Muscle confusion, we used to always say when you to mix up your workout. So confuse your body, your cells,
Yep,
have the different programs. Nice.
exactly.
So getting red light therapy in there is helpful. And then I know I have the face mask, a different company face mask. I have a different kind of flex beam thing that I can put over my liver and your gallbladder help. You can put over your belly. There's all this research, even on your thyroid. And I know I can't take mine into the sauna, but your panels that you guys use in the new version, can you direct it certain areas, apply it, or can you take anything
So
in the sauna?
it's more systemic, I would say, because it's
Mm-hmm.
around you and you're also in the sauna longer. So when it comes to light, it's the Goldilocks effect. And same with sauna use, right? There's too little, it's not going to do much, and too much, it can be too much. So
Mm-hmm.
the power density is something very important to talk about too. Um, with our impulse sauna, the power density isn't quite as high. So you're in there longer. You can target certain areas because the strips are they are static, they're not moving. So you could sit, like for me, I always have back pain, and that's perfect because this thing goes right up and down your spine. So you're getting that near infrared, that red light right up against your back. If you wanted to lean into it with your face, it may be somewhat uncomfortable. But as you mentioned, we have a red light panel that is outside of the sauna, and that panel has red and near infrared at the precise nanometers that we've found to be the most beneficial, which is 850 for near and then 660 for red. And so those nanometers, again, similar to these different wavelengths for infrared in general, they each do different things and are better absorbed at those levels. So that's something very important to consider. When thinking about that. But everything, it's just so cool how much this is exploding. I mean, you just talked about these different tools that you're using personally. My dad, he has a helmet that is near infrared based with a slightly different nanometer, and it's to penetrate into the brain further. So he has Parkinson's, and it's something
Mm.
that we're just trying to help him with these natural remedies because it's a heck of a disease. I mean, it's absolutely terrible, but to have tools like this that have so much promise, I mean, I'm getting chills talking about it because it's the passion and the hope that I think are going to help people the most. I mean, we're talking about what's happening now, like with
Yeah.
AI and just what we're learning. The future is just so bright. Pardon the light pun there, but there's just so much possibility. And the fact that all these listeners are probably very new to these topics, and to be able to expose them to these technologies, it's a really cool thing to be a part of.
Well, you have to listen to, I did 2 or 3 podcasts with Martha Carlin and Dr. William Davis on
Mm,
cognitive health, but specifically her research is Parkinson's. So,
mm,
and I know she's coming into town in a couple weeks for the Metabolic conference here for the low carb USA. It's called Metabolic Health Summit or something now, but it's to
nice.
focus on Parkinson's because it is so much of the cognitive diseases and how that's a big thing for myself because so many people, if you look at your parents and their friends and watching everyone age, that's scary. And I think just how you can take ownership of your health today is my point on the podcast now, to focus, okay, what can I be doing now to increase brain health? And I think that's why Rhonda Patrick got so passionate on the sauna research early on in her career, is focusing on how to have the more brain drive neurofactor, the BDNF, and avoid, we talk about leaky gut and leaky brain, and keeping that blood brain barrier intact and avoiding these diseases as Alzheimer's, Parkinson's, dementia, because it's sadly really common out there. And I don't want to have to go through that either.
Yeah, and the stats, it's scary to read. Like I just glance over them half the time because I'm like, I don't want to hear that. Like all the conferences I go to now, it's exponential growth of all of these problems. And that's why it's so important for us to just be educating people of these simple things to do. We're not saying you have to spend 20 hours during the week doing all these different things like you would training for something like a marathon or a big race. I mean, these are actionable steps to take now.
And I would say too, my mindset is, why is it happening? And that's what we're diving into in the with Dr. Davis and Martha Carlin and B Minerals. We did 3 of them on the show, and just looking at, okay, what happens as we age and what can we do to embrace the changes and make up for what's changing, because we know what we do know now and how to make up for that. So doing the sauna, doing the mega fatty acids, doing the breath work and the cold, we'll talk about how that all helps brain health as well as gut health, and H. pylori, stomach acid. I did a whole episode on. So it's a big area. Um, Talking about the cold therapy next, what is the benefit of adding in cold, or is there a benefit? I should say, not assume. What is the benefit of cold therapy before or after sauna?
Yeah, so it's more hormesis. It's more
Mhm.
stress, getting us out of our comfort zone and pushing through these things that are not going to kill us. Maybe our brain thinks that for a minute. Like when you first get immersed in the cold, it's hard to breathe. It's hard to think. You just want to get out. Like it's kind of
Yeah.
funny when you take breaks from, if you've done cold exposure, take some breaks and you think, oh, it's like riding a bike. I'm just going to get right back in. Like it's not. Your body panics and is stressed to the point that if you can come back to your breath, if you can control everything, it becomes easy. I mean, it's something that you can do as part of your daily routine. It's definitely not for everybody. I mean, as we're aging and have these different stressors in our lives, not everyone needs the cold, and the same can be said for the hot. I mean, with infrared, it's a little different than a traditional sauna, but still something I would consult with your doctor, make sure that everything is good to go. But when you can get in this good routine of the contrast therapy, we have seen the science show it's better to go hot to cold because a lot of the benefits that come from cold plunge are afterwards. It's your body heating itself back up. The blood vessels have constricted. The blood flow is all going internally so that your heart and everything can actually function and stay warm. But once you're out, that's when the blood is released and starts flowing. Like I get so flushed when I get out of the cold. It's kind of funny to see. It's like I just the ultimate sunburn or something. Um, but those benefits are just incredible. And again, with the hormesis side, in today's environments, we're just too comfortable. And I think that's
Mm.
part of some of the problems that we're facing as a whole, is that we are not used to getting these stressors and submitting ourselves to these various temperature changes. And so
Mhm.
we're able to become more just immune to it all. We're building our immunity. We're helping us learn, okay, I can handle this stress. And then that applies to everything else in life too. Like a conversation with someone that gets heated, it's similar to me at least, where I can't breathe as well even or just talk. Words don't form as well. And it's like if I can get into the cold plunge and handle that, I'm going to be able to handle that stressful conversation better. So it's that practical applications that are kind of neat to me too.
So that you're talking about building resiliency and being more resilient with acute stress. That is hormesis. Acute stress is turn it on, turn it off. And I always
Yep.
say the leaky faucet versus turning the faucet on and off. A leaky faucet would be chronic stress, that exposure to that short dose of stress is now prolonged. And we
Yep.
do that all the time, becomes a chronic source of stress that leads to, we say as practitioners, metabolic chaos, and takes the body away from metabolic harmony and having everything in balance. So it's really important, I find, to realize, okay, how much is too much, the Goldilocks effect for everything.
Yep.
When am I doing the right dose? For especially cold plunge is a big thing I've learned over the years, because of people that already have excessive amount of chronic stress. They're already living life as a race and doing everything to the extreme, which I find it used to be most of our listeners that are the type A, triple A, and they hear about all these things to do, strategies, biohacks to improve their aging health, but they do way too much. So now we're just adding so much more into that stress beaker, that now that acute stress is now chronic stress. So identifying for that individual what is the right duration of cold plunge if you have chronic stress, chronic inflammation, biotoxicity, toxic burden overload.
Yeah, and even for women as they are having
Yeah,
hormonal
woman.
changes too, like that's extremely important. We talked about
Mhm.
this a little before we got on. What is happening to you this week and your hormone changes in 2 weeks, your reaction could be completely different. That
Mhm.
stress that you're taking on, your body can completely change direction and course of how it's going to react. So we don't have to push too hard. I mean, it is a bell curve. Hormesis can be extremely beneficial when done right. They're even showing for cold exposure, 12 minutes a week and temperatures around 50 degrees, even up to like 59. So this is not Wim Hof out there in the Arctic Ocean, chiseled away a spot from the ice to actually get into the water. That's really cool to see. And those extremes, that's a feat in and of itself, but we don't have to
Mhm.
do that. 50 to 59. is still cold and still beneficial. Even a cold shower. I mean, putting
Yeah.
yourself through that stress, that's a lot too. I mean, I would rather get in a cold plunge, I think, than get in a cold shower, even though you can just turn it right back to hot. There's just something about that that I can't take myself or make myself
Y-
do on a consistent basis. I'd rather fully submerge in this cold plunge for 3 minutes and then get out. But
Mhm.
yeah, that's where again, um, the benefits for cold, a lot of them happen afterwards. That's the mental strength that we can gain, but the systems that we're activating, we're turning on the system that's heating us up. That's metabolism. That's burning energy and getting us to the state of normal, back to that core temperature that's not quite so cold, and the blood flow that happens, the inflammation reduction with if you do it back and forth, that still has some nice benefits. I mean, you're constricting, you're relaxing, doing all these different things. Um, but again, it depends person to person. Figure out what works for you. Not everyone has the time to do that as well. Like some of these protocols that you could be doing, it takes up to an hour, 2 hours if you're doing it. And that's not everyone has that time. So figure out what works for you, what makes you feel good. And that's what's nice too about all this stuff. Is you get these results pretty immediately, at least the mental stuff. If it's making you feel good, do it every day. If it's not making you feel good, stop doing it.
Yeah, that's true. That's why I would say, maybe not depend on deciding how you feel today by looking at your aura score or your Whoop or your watch. Actually, just check in. Use that good
Hmm.
old intuition.
Yep. Yep.
See how it really works. So going back to what you just said about the cold in the brain, I know some research saying for the vagus nerve to rewire the nervous system, if you are in that sympathetic dominant state, fight or flight, it is beneficial for some people, maybe that shortest dose, to do cold intervals or cold plunge if you have the need to rewire nervous system, as well as people that have depression.
Mm.
Have you seen
Yeah.
anything on that?
So I have it in the cold, and it's something where at Sunlighten, of course, we are sauna makers, and I do know for certain there are incredible benefits for depression with saunas.
Yeah.
So there is a really cool study and even ongoing studies of how even just a single sauna session can relieve depression symptoms for weeks. And a lot of that has to do with the thermoregulation. And so I think that is probably what's happening here too, is a lot of the problems that happen with depression is your body is just not able to thermoregulate very well. It's not able to cool down when it needs to, or to the degree that it needs to. So that's affecting all sorts of stuff and mostly sleep. I mean, when we're in a depressive state, if you're not able to sleep, your mind's racing, it's just going to compound and not get better. So both of these and everything that we've talked about are very helpful for sleep. So these tools, it may not be something that there's a ton of studies, but it's more the anecdotal evidence that we hear constantly from your ring score or your Whoop of how well you slept after sauna use or after cold plunge or even red light. There's great benefits for red light too for sleeping. So I think it's just a big combination. But to answer your question, I don't know exactly what it is that may help with that for cold specifically, but I would imagine it has a lot to do with just your body's ability to kick on those systems, activate the return to normalcy.
Hmm. Yeah, I think I'm pretty shocked working with clients how many people are on medications and medications for sleep and for depression. And it's amazing how many people are just prescribed these drugs and not solving just lifestyle habit changes, rewiring the nervous system, get outside, morning sunlight. But the sauna and just how that can help, sauna session, as you just mentioned, for sleep and depression. And I know myself, I typically like to do sauna in the evening and then have a shower, cool shower. and then do a little red light therapy. Then I stretch sometimes at night. We do a little stretching routine, and it just my sleep is good. It's been pretty
Mm,
good. And I think a lot of it is understanding how important it is if you had whatever adrenal exhaustion I used to have. When you can't sleep and you have insomnia or you wake up middle of the night, you can't fall back asleep, it is such a horrible feeling.
hmm.
And knowing that the medications isn't a long-term solution. It might help you in the beginning, but just how adding in these tools, starting with the free stuff, breath work, outdoor grounding, morning sunlight, adding in the sauna, it is an expense, but there's different, you guys have the tunnel thing, or you can do the sleeping bag kind of thing. There's different ways to do sauna, but it does definitely investing in my health. It was our Christmas gift one year. We saved up our money, but that's so important to us to improve our aging, the longevity markers, the brain health. And I'm not trying to sell people in sunlight sauna, but just how important it's helped my sleep and my recovery. And I think it's a big part of it. Now you say all that is probably adding in the sauna routine in the evening and helping my quality of sleep. And I must add, I'm turning suddenly 54. I just had my 50th birthday, and this November
Well,
I'll be 54. And I am not too much information for some people. I'm not in menopause. I'm still 53, not in that 12 months not having your cycle process yet, and feeling good. I don't have any symptoms and PMS and all that stuff, but I think it's because I figured out how best to take care of me, Debbie Potts, and doing what needs to be done to help my aging process.
yeah, and just touching on that briefly too, a lot of women that maybe are in menopause or having hot flashes, they're scared of sauna. Like they're
Mm,
already hot enough. Like, why in the world do I need
yeah.
to sauna? But that's something that we have seen anecdotal comments as well of like it actually helped reduce hot flashes, and probably because of that thermoregulation that we talked
Mm-hmm.
about. Your body is used to the heat, is able to kind of cool itself down. You're training yourself in those different
Mm,
ways. And then
yeah.
just to add on to your sauna routine, I love
Yeah.
that. I mean, having it at the end of your day, like if you're working, getting everything done, going through just the stressful routine that is life, to have that sauna session at the end of the day, it's kind of like a bookend. It's like, okay, now I'm shifting to some me time. But what's
Mm-hmm.
happening physically is your body is heating up. And for optimal sleep, you need to be cooled down. So it's
Mm-hmm.
kind of counterintuitive. But as your heat or the temperature rises and you get out, your cooling systems are on. So your temperature starts to drop so that as you're getting into bed, you're on that downswing and probably cooled off quite a bit, and then continue that. So then that's when that deep sleep can happen. And that's when that great recovery is going to be happening so that you can have the energy for the next day, have that muscle recovery, have even the brain. It's probably the most important part is what's happening to your brain as you're asleep is it is going through the processes in things out and allowing yourself to function optimally that next day.
Yeah. And I think if people think they're just doing the exercise part and that's enough, I think we need to revisit priorities when we are working on improving our second half of our life and to be our best self when I'm retired so I can enjoy life and not be struggling with all these illnesses, all these medications. I just hear the list. My mom's 84 and all of her friends late 70s. I'm like, oh, what the heck? And they
Yeah,
can't figure out what's wrong with them. It's like it's not that difficult. Why don't we just work on the body's innate intelligence first and prevent
yeah.
all this stuff to happen? So I really think hopefully Peter Tia's book Outlive help people create a little more awareness of stuff you should be doing now, as well as kind of my focus on creating your future self. So thanks for all the research you guys are doing. And you're working, you have the red light, you've got the cold plunge available now on the website. Tell us a little bit where to find everything and learn more.
Yeah, so sunlighten.com, very expansive website. We've got terrific blogs, just all sorts of information on each of the different health benefits. And yes, so we are now have the rights to Ice Barrel. So we have the opportunity to purchase cold plunges as well. So when you're on the website, what we're aiming to do is consult. We want to educate. we want to talk to all of our consumers, all of the people that want to join the Sunlighten family and help them figure out what's best for them. So that's exactly what our sauna consultants do. So when you're on the website, we have a get pricing form, and that is where you can put in your information and we will reach out to talk through everything. Because a sauna purchase, as you said earlier, it's a big deal. So this is not something that many people are just on a whim. Oh, I'm going to buy this wellness device for my home that's going to take up space. It's going to require some electricity changes, perhaps, and then just the budget part. So with everyone's health goals at a different place and budget flexibility, that's where these consultants are going to help you understand what's best for you. And maybe it is a cold plunge too. Who knows? Maybe it is more on the red light side. Maybe they're just going to help you figure out what's good for you. And it's a purchase that happens later down the road. But that's where we want to meet you where you're at now so that you can maybe make that decision later down the road by saving up. We always have great savings and specials and deals. And in fact, better mention this now. If you heard about this on the podcast and you come to the website, make sure to follow the link that Debbie will have in these notes, but then mention this podcast and you'll get savings of up to $1,400 off your purchase of your sauna, and then some other savings here and there, depending on when you come through. Um, Social media is another great place. Our social media team is killing it as well. Being on the marketing side, I get to see some of the insights and behind the scenes, but the education that we're putting out there, it's different from what's happening in the industry. I mean, the infrared world, it's not new. We've been in this for 25 years, um, but it's become a huge boom and all sorts of competitors out there just talking about, oh, we're the best, we're the best, we have everything you need, zero EMFs, the safest out there. The proof is in the pudding with our products. The quality is second to none. And it's just something that you can trust. I mean, we've had endless or countless people come through, and our Sunlighten family is massive. It started with a small
Mhm.
ripple, and now we have a lot of people getting some really great light benefits.
Yeah. Do you have your football team, Kansas City, come over and use the facilities?
We have had quite a few Chiefs come through. And yeah, they're huge fans. And that's what's cool too. I mean, everybody is using infrared. Tons of sports teams out there replacing their traditional saunas with infrared or just buying some for their facilities. But with these players, of course, they have the means to purchase. So they're putting them in each of their homes that they might even have. But that's what's cool is it's these people that are peak performers that are also using it. So it's not those that are maybe just in a spot where their health is just declining, they're not getting along. It's for everybody. I mean, light is universal and we should all soak it up as much as we can.
For sure. I do have my glass house here, as you can see. There's no
I
walls.
know. That is
So
awesome.
I get some, almost maybe too much light, if that's possible. I will add in too, you guys just had a post, speaking of your social media, Instagram posts, is excellent research. And there's the one on the NAD the
Mm.
other day. It was really interesting. So I'll have to share the link to that. But that was good information because NAD is so big. And nitric oxide too, be interesting to dive into and correlate that, taking precursors, because I'm reading Dr. Nathan Bryan's book on nitric oxide to increase blood flow and having some of the supplements of that before the sauna too. So there's all the sorts of
Yep.
different things to go down into different rabbit holes. But I really feel that this is a great investment for people. And there's, as again, we said, there's different options on the website, but just I think understanding the why behind everything and the mechanism of action and the benefits of the different wavelengths and the different programs that are in the sauna a really important part if you're trying to heal, you've had some health, chronic inflammation, injuries, brain health. I think so many people are struggling out there, not getting better. And this is a great investment that's, as you said, tons of research on it. It's been around for, I don't know how many years,
Well,
start to
infrared
finish
forever.
studies.
I mean,
Yeah,
it's natural
forever.
from the sun.
Yes. And so it's been around. So people can learn more on the website, but it's a good tool to have in your toolbox for sure.
Absolutely.
Thank you so much. So we'll put everything in the show notes and hopefully you guys can check it out. And we look forward to hearing about everyone's experiments, figure out what works best for you as you are a unique individual.
Awesome. Thanks so much. Thanks so much for having me, Debbie.